I want to change out my main bed needles and my ribber needles. How can you tell the difference between main bed and ribber needles? Main bed needles are longer, have a longer shaft, and ribber needles have a shaft that's not as long. That's the difference. See? My knitting machine arrived in terrible state. Look at there was a big hole over here and cracks. See? And the needles are rusty. When I tried to knit, one broke right off. The hook broke off. So let's change out the needles, okay? First step, we're going to take off the carriage. Step 2, we're going to take out the sponge bar. And for that, I use a screwdriver, put in this hole here, and pull. Oops, mine is a bit stiff. So pull the sponge bar out. I'm going to zoom out and show you how that works. So I'm going to put my screwdriver here and pull my sponge bar out like this. Okay. My sponge bar seems to be really stiff still, so it's going to make it all force, and it's out. There. I need to change that. That's flat and not so spongy anymore. So set that aside. Next, I want to remove this needle, this broken one, to show you how to take out as many needles as you want. So we pull the needle forward until it gets to the end of the groove, and you'll notice that the butt of the needle will pop up here. So you can slide it back with the butt up and out of the groove and take that needle out. That's how you do it. And then you grab a new needle. Make sure it's the one for the main bed and not the ribber one. So that would be this longer one. And put that into the groove, bringing it forward out of this slot here. Slide it forward until it gets the end of the groove, and then basically raise it up this way, and the butt goes down into the groove, and slide it back. And that's it. That's how you replace a needle. And it's the same step for any number of needles on the main bed or on the ribber. It's the same thing for the ribber too. So the ribber also has a bar, although it doesn't have a sponge in it. You take off the ribber needle, your ribber carriage rather, and take out the bar. So the bar on the ribber has no sponge. Set that aside and then push the needle up just like we did on the main bed, and when it gets to the end of the groove, you can push down on the needle and the butt's going to pop out, and you can slide that needle out of the groove and put in a new one. Like this. Okay, and then push. So when you push it in, you raise the needle up in so that the end goes into the bed, and basically wiggle it in and push it back down. So once I'm done replacing all of that, the needles here and here, I'll come back and show you how to put the sponge bars in, but it's really simple. The way you slid it out, that's the same way you slide it back in. But I'll show you once I'm done here. That will be the final step. The last step, now that I've got all my needles in, is to put my sponge bar back. I'm going to take my needle pusher and I'm going to need to push down on the needles. Right now they are all raised up. If I zoom in, I'm going to see that my needles are elevated. I need to push them down before I put my sponge bar through, so that my sponge bar will sit on top of the needles. So I'm going to go to the side here and put the tip of the sponge bar in, and starting from the edge, I'm going to push down the needles. So pull the needles down and put your sponge bar through. There we go. Okay. So by moving a bit closer, you're going to see the difference between the parts that have the sponge bar. The needles are flatter against the bed versus this section where the sponge bar isn't, and my needles are raised up. So I need to push the needles down and then push my sponge bar through. So I'm going to put my camera on a stable surface and continue that. And I'm almost through. And there, I've got my sponge bar all the way in. Almost all the way in. I like to leave this bit out so that it's easier for me to pull the sponge bar out the next time I need to. Okay, that's how to put the sponge bar back on your main bed. Now for the river, the sponge bar, actually it shouldn't be called a sponge bar because there is no sponge on the bar for the river. It has no sponge. Same thing, we're going to put it in the groove here, and for the river bed, what we really need to be careful about is to make sure that the sponge bar isn't dropping. As we pass it through the bed, the bar tends to fall. Instead of staying on that line all the way across, it tends to fall into the bed. So I'm just watching to make sure that's not happening here, which it isn't. But if it is, if you notice as you're pushing it through that your bar seems to drop, and take your transfer tool, place it into the groove and just gently support it as you push it through. And that's it. We've changed our needles successfully. Thank you for watching.